This story is told using a variety of flashbacks.
So, to prevent confusion, when you hear this sound,
that means it's the beginning or end of a flashback.
Enjoy!
Chapter 2.
Emma. Once you spend enough time on a desert planet, you learn a couple of things. Firstly, sand cannot possibly get any uglier. And secondly, anything sounds edible when you've been walking in the hot sun for several agonizing hours. As a kid, when I read books about the Sahara Desert, I thought it was the most wondrous geographical location to exist. I liked to imagine myself riding camels through the immaculate dune-filled desert as some Egyptian outlaw. I read The Alchemist in middle school and was almost jealous of Santiago's fantastic endeavors in the middle of northeastern Africa. But those feelings have not carried over into my current disposition. It took me months to collect enough Salsian cacti in return for the rubber expense I needed to purchase my own Ayakin. And as slow as Ayakins walk, I'm not even sure it's worth it at this point. The only thing worth it about riding this strange, two-legged chimera-looking thing across the sweltering dunes of Arago is the relief that I, at the very least, don't have to walk myself. But even then, it's only relief from expending my energy, not curing the mundanity of spending 6 months traveling alone through an entirely desert planet. Anyway, it's taken me 8 hours to get where I am, and I've only just reached a checkpoint that falls in between the settlement I came from and the one that marks my destination. This checkpoint is a kooky bar that I remember as one of the first places I stumbled across after escaping the man who brought me to this godforsaken planet in the first place. To be honest, at this point, I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking for. At first, I thought there was some possibility that I'd run into someone who could offer me a way back home. But after all these months of sauntering around the desert, I've realized that is a pretty idealistic goal to begin with. When I arrive at the entrance to the bar, I hop off my Ayakin, which I promise I named at some point, but I've promptly forgotten that name somewhere along the way. After tying him up outside, I push through the wooden door of the establishment, and I'm immediately met with a couple of surprised looks from creepy old men sitting at various tables inside. Misogyny is a given at this point. "What? Have you never seen a female?" I snap. It does the trick. They stop staring, and I walk up to the bar and order the first drink I see off the menu because I still don't know what's actually good on this planet. Everything I've ever consumed looks like some abhorrent Star Wars concoction, and I've given up paying any mind to the taste. As the bartender slides me the drink, I glance over my shoulder and make eye contact with a couple of weirdos still staring. "Seriously? What?" I chide. Sighing and shaking my head, I turn back to my drink and take a sip. It tastes awful, but I didn't expect anything less. "Cuckheads," I mutter under my breath.
Some language for a lady.
A voice retorts. I roll my eyes as I look over to my right and see a man sitting a couple of seats away from me drinking some weird red liquor. I notice the large scar running across the bridge of his nose, and while that alone doesn't set him apart from the rest, it feels like something is different about him. He doesn't seem to be as unkempt as the other men I've seen, and even his demeanor is different in a way I can't pinpoint. Still, he pisses me off. "Oh, my bad. I didn't know we were still living in the 18th century. I hiss, taking another drink of the horrid cocktail I ordered. I expect the stranger, or Scar, as I've now nicknamed him, to back off. But he doesn't, and instead surprises me with what he says.
"Actually, it's only the 5th century. So you have quite a ways to go before the feminist movement comes around,"
he replies, and I stare at him in disbelief. What I said should have made no sense to him. It could only have made sense to him if he is aware of Earth. And his reply is just as jarringly knowledgeable. I'm speechless. The stranger looks away as he takes another drink before continuing to speak.
Earth is pretty far away from here. What brings you to the star grid?
I try to find the words to respond to him, but I'm still awestruck. In all honesty, he's the first person I've had a genuine conversation with in months, and I feel like I'm tripping right now. It takes me a moment to process his question before I ponder it. What brought me to the star grid? Ace. Ace brought me here. I look down at the bracelet I've had cuffed to my wrist all these years and shiver as I attempt to pull my sleeve over it.
Ah,
Scar exclaims, and I assume he took notice of my bracelet before I hid it.
Ace.
He says, suddenly. I look at him again, surprised. He knows who Ace is? I watch as he slides his glass around between his hands and looks up.
I know someone who can get that bracelet off you.
You do? I reply. He's gotta be kidding. All this time and he seriously knows someone who can help me?
Yep.
He says, grinning. He reaches into his pocket and takes out a couple of rubber pieces, and he looks over at me.
Would you like me to take you to him?
I consider his offer before the past 7 years flash through my mind like a horrible slideshow. Do you really think I'm stupid enough to go off with another stranger? I snap. The man laughs, and as I sit here, I'm reminded of the first time I met Ace. It was in a circumstance a lot like this, at some random bar downtown, after a long day at work. At some point, I'll have to put my work away for the night, because as I sit here, I start to notice a buzz coming on. I've been listening to the man at the table behind me try to impress his date for the past 30 minutes, and all I can feel is pity for her. He's just the kind of pretentious jackass who takes a poor woman to a bar like this. It's the kind of bar that feels upscale, but is really only mediocre. Still, it seems like a good enough place to finish this paperwork while enjoying some top-shelf scotch.
Doing all right over there?
I hear the bartender's voice beckon. I look up and mutter something affirming before trying to get back into my rhythm of focus. It doesn't take long for that focus to yet again be broken by the voice of a stranger who has approached me.
I don't believe this is a good office space.
His accent is thick. British? No. Australian. I look up at him. He's handsome, tall, with a strong build and brunette hair. His beard is well trimmed, and his eyes are an inoffensive hazel. I offer him only a placid chuckle in reply to his comment as I look back down at my work and raise the glass of liquor at my side. It's got booze, I reply. I hear him force a laugh as he takes a seat beside me. I don't mind the flirting, but he's got no chance. I'm not looking for a relationship. In fact, I'm still wearing my engagement ring, which is only a little bit pathetic.
Fair point,
He says as he takes a swig of his drink. I glance over and see that it's a beer. He's a beer guy. Beer guys are better than liquor guys, but they can be slobs. I find that beer guys either have their life together in a boring way, or they're stereotypically alcoholic. Still, if I weren't some sentimental, sad widow, I might find him and his Aussie accent kinda cute. You live here? I ask him. I'm not sure why I entertain a conversation with him, but I'm buzzed, and why the fuck not?
No.
I close my folder. That's enough for the night. I'm sure that Quinn would chide me about my workaholic nature lately anyway. What brings you to the US? I ask my new friend as I take a sip of my drink.
Business.
I raise an eyebrow, egging him on to elaborate.
I run a fast food chain and I'm interested in bringing it to the West Coast. Any recommendations?
He inquires. I pick up my folder and turn to my satchel sitting beside me. As I reply, I gradually become aware of my admirer's intentions. Oh, you know, the big ones, LA, Seattle, Vegas. Out of the corner of my eye, I watch him take something out of his jacket pocket. He slowly inches closer to my drink.
Here?
He asks, attempting to mask his actions with small talk. He pours the powder into my drink, and I turn toward him. Portland? Sure, I tell him as I place my badge on the bar top for him to see. He looks down at it. Nice Rohypnol, by the way, I say as I reach for my handcuffs. The man laughs loudly as he raises his hands up in surrender.
Take me away, officer.
His condescending demeanor agitates me. Before I can reply to him, I hear the bartender again.
Everything okay, miss?
He asks. I look back at him and smile smugly. Yes, actually, if you could call the... I stop speaking abruptly when I turn back toward the creepy man and am, alarmingly, met with empty space. It's almost as if he vanished into thin air. And when I look down at what he put in my drink, I notice the empty sugar packet sitting on the counter. Wait, I murmur. What just happened? Scar breaks me out of my daze by speaking.
Hey, you don't have to go with me. I'm not the one with the tracker on my wrist, though.
He says as he gets up and starts to walk out the door. I look down at that stupid bracelet again. Do I really want to end up spending another eternity with Ace as his personal slave? Or is it better to leap on the small chance that this different stranger might offer me a better fate? Fuck, I mutter. Wait up, I call after him. I'm either stupid or exhausted, or both. But what do I have to lose at this point?
Thanks for tuning in.
And hey, if you enjoyed this week's chapter, make sure to check out all our social media to keep updated with the release of future chapters.
And also make sure to check out all the cool actors, musicians, and artists that make the series possible.